Even though the kit didn't always work, and though an official ceasefire had been declared, I still felt extremely vulnerable without it. We hadn't waited long when, out of nowhere, came the large fuselage of a Chinook, circling over Fitzroy. There were a few lame jokes about hoping it was one of ours and not an enemy one stuffed with Argy Marines or, worse still, pilots who were going to have a go now that we were rapulous. It hovered above our position, and I could make out a Union flag on its side. I soon wished it would go away as its twin rotors blasted us with grass and sheep shit in the downdraft. It landed, we got on board, it took off, and I fell asleep. Well, that's the effect helicopters have on me. We landed at Port Stanley, and someone woke me up. It was certainly a sight for sore eyes. The Argentines had completely trashed the place. The streets were covered in debris of all descriptions. Weapons, clothing, abandoned vehicles, feces. There's a great scene in perhaps the ultimate war film, Apocalypse Now. Colonel Kilgore, the Stetson-wearing lunatic who surfs while Charlie tries to machine-gun him, is explaining how he loves the smell of napalm in the morning. It smells like victory, he says. No, it doesn't. Victory smells mainly of excrement. Everywhere you looked lay little piles of the stuff at first. I assumed the locals must have had a lot of dogs, and badly trained dogs at that, but a closer inspection revealed some of the mounds had toilet paper stuck on the top. And I'd never met a hound that could wipe its own backside. It was quite obvious that there were only 3 groups of people that could be responsible. Number 1, the Islanders. Number 2, the British Army. Number 3, the Argentines. We soon found out that Group 3 were responsible. It needed cleaning up, but not to worry. The Royal Artillery get all the crap jobs. There wasn't a lot of joking on that particular detail. The only way I can describe the scene in Stanley is as one of organized anarchy. Everyone was so chuffed to have made it this far that we all just got smashed and let our now slightly longer hair down, even the officers. Our troop was accommodated in an abandoned weather station. I say abandoned because there was no one there when we claimed it. But someone had left not long before, and they had helpfully left their little brown calling cards to prove it. Everyone suddenly had an extra weapon, usually a Belgian-made RGFN rifle. Bored with our SLRS, we sat around stripping and reassembling our new toys. Once your rifle is cleaned, the natural thing is to go and fire it. I gave scouts from 3-1 Delta a folding stock FN rifle and suggested we go whack off a few rounds. We stumbled upon some old RG bunkers, littered with bits of kit and thousands of rounds of 7.62mm ammo, and spent a happy half-hour minding our own business, blasting off mag after mag on full auto. It's nearly impossible to control an FN whilst firing on auto. It rears up into the air, nearly knocking you onto your backside, but it's good fun. No boring NCOs telling you to keep your weapon pointed down the range for inspection, port arms, blah blah blah. In between changing mags and rubbing the mud off the loose rounds we found on the floor, we heard, "Oi, you two, what do you think you're doing?" We turned around, keeping our weapons pointed at the bunker, and saw a fat sergeant we didn't recognize stomping towards us. He made us come to attention. Can you believe it? We had 2 loaded assault rifles. He was unarmed, and there was no one about. He must have been pissed up, on a Paycor or an ego trip. He gave us a bollocking, took out his little pocketbook and pencil, and asked for our names and regiment. We gave him names and batteries. He ordered us to unload and confiscated our rifles. We headed back to the weather station, hoping that he would follow up on the names that we had given him, as both were in 9 battery and were rather Afro-Caribbean in appearance. He could have asked to see our dog tags, but his real motive was obviously our FN rifles. None of that mattered, though on arrival back at our new base, we discovered Father Christmas had been. Most of our troops stood around some wooden crates that were full of brand new FN rifles, still in their greaseproof paper. We were just too late. They'd all been claimed, and their proud new owners were sitting there drooling and caressing them like a shapely pair of legs in some black fishnet stockings. Not to worry. I did what all good senior gunners do and found someone to take advantage of. At the far end of the room sat a gunner with a new FN. Edmo was not the keenest of soldiers. He'd probably set off to go to the chip shop and ended up in the army by accident. If Belgium went to the trouble of making such a fine weapon, I felt it was only right that its owner should have an idea which end the round came out. "How's it going, Edmo?" "All right, man," he said, looking up at me in suspicion. "Let's have a look at your FN." "No way. You won't give us it back, man." "I will. Listen, I'll give you a Mars bar if you let me fire it." The fool agreed. "Howie, man, where's the Mars bar?" "As soon as we get back to England, I'll get you a Mars bar. In fact, you can have 2, Edmo, I promise." And I spent the rest of the afternoon back at our illegal range. The euphoria of victory and survival soon started to wear off, and we were rapidly getting pissed off with alternately cleaning up Stanley or sitting around doing pretty much nothing. Some of the task force had already set sail for home, and it now looked like we'd be the last to leave. Whenever I hear the song Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, I am transported back in time to that old workshop. Taft Blenken was the only one in our troop with a Walkman, and I think he only had 1 tape, which happened to be a Led Zepp thing. It was good to get snuggled down inside my DOS bag, put the headset on and try to forget where I was for a while. To boost our morale, we continued using the equipment left behind by the enemy. The Argies had Roland surface gear missile systems, and I came across some of our lads vandalizing one, smashing the electronics with metal bars and rocks. Tamo decided to do it in style by firing a full mag of 7.62mm into it with his trendy folding stock FN. We were all standing round giggling when we got the fright of our lives. Some of the rounds must have ignited a missile, because all of a sudden one shot out, with a large bang and a cloud of smoke. It roared into the air about 100 feet before spiraling back down to earth and exploding not far away, showering us with dirt. It was a mad thing to do, really, and it gives you some insight into our mental state. I often wonder what would have happened if the Roland had hit one of our helicopters, perhaps one being flown by Prince Andrew. A story from the past is that a gunner from T Battery stumbled and dropped Queen Victoria's coffin at her funeral. The resulting punishment was the battery being banished from the UK for years. Killing Prince Andrew would certainly have been remembered, even if the Falklands War ended up being totally forgotten. Anyway, we were lucky. HRH was nowhere to be seen. We all cheered like kids at the bang, then ran like hell in case we were seen by the officers. They were probably doing the same thing though, and they did seem to end up with the best spoils of war. Mercedes Jeeps mysteriously seemed to find their way on board UK-bound ships in the name of Captain So-and-so or Major Thingy. Yes, rank does have its privileges. If you are enjoying this, please like, subscribe, and share. Read the book by AA McNally, Still Watching Men Burn, Fighting the PTSD War at Amazon, link in the description.